StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today we are getting into part 5 of, who knows, maybe this will be 6, maybe 7 parts of me answering questions from my texting community. These are questions that were sent in directly from members of my text community who get my daily motivation text that I send out every single day, free of charge to everyone in the community, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. If you want to receive that message, text me my number, 385-384-6894 every morning when that message goes out. Every member of the community shall receive it. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where you get to work with me directly. That's the only place where you can connect with me and be coached by me. You can join our coaching mastermind groups. You can get one-on-one coaching from me. It's the only place you can do any of those things. The only place you have those options is as a member of Work on Your Game University. The way you join the university is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You'll see all the options. You can schedule a call with us and we'll tell you some options that we have that are not advertised. We have some unadvertised options, some unadvertised programs, but you have to get on a call with me or somebody on my team at workonyourgameuniversity.com in order to know what is actually available for you. So with all of that said, let's get into today's topic, which is, again, we are answering questions. I am answering questions from people in my texting community who sent their messages in. This is when I just asked randomly for what is the number one question I can answer for you right now, and a bunch of people responded, and I'm answering those questions. They all got a chance to ask me any question that they wanted. These are the questions that they asked. So if y'all like these questions, I'd be mad at the people in the texting community who sent them in. But I picked the best ones that I saw here. So let's get into it. Number 24, this is a question from Daniel. Daniel in Philadelphia. Shout out to Philadelphia, my hometown. Daniel says, how to balance partying and working on your craft in college as an athlete. How do you balance them? Well, that's exactly what you do, Daniel. You balance them. And when the gym is open, you're in the gym. And when the gym is closed, you go to the party. That's pretty much what you do. That's what I did when I was in college. When the gym was open, I was in the gym. And when the gym was closed, I would also go to class. So you got to go to class enough. Now, you didn't mention class, Daniel, so I'm assuming you're going to class too. You got to go to class enough to stay eligible. All right, so you got to stay eligible by going to class enough to at least get your degree and stay eligible long enough to play your sport for 4 years, assuming that you're doing 4 years. Then you have the social life, which you should enjoy because college is the last time you're going to have all these people around the same age with the same aims all in one geographical area so tightly packed. You're never going to have that again after college. So take advantage of that. And then working on your craft is you working on your game and doing what you got to do as an athlete. And Daniel, I believe this is the same Daniel. I think I've spoken to Daniel before. This is the same person. And I know Daniel's a basketball player, so assuming this is basketball, thinking about where you want to go. Where you want to go when college is over. Are you planning on aiming to play professionally when school is over? If so, then you need to set your priorities. Actually, you need to set your priorities no matter what. So if you're using basketball just to get through college and you want to do something else after school, you need to prioritize that something else, whatever it is. If you're planning on being a professional athlete, you need to prioritize your athletics so that your game is where it needs to be. Because trust me, I played professional sports. When you get out of college, the partying lifestyle and everything that comes with the partying lifestyle, and you get what I'm saying here, Daniel? All right, that'll be available to you in even more plentiful amounts if you play professional sports. Trust me, even more than it is in college, easily. And also make sure that you do what you need to do to support the thing that you're trying to do. So you want to play professional sports, understand that you got to stay eligible so you can keep playing your sport long enough to keep working on your game and showing your game to the people who need to see it so you can be ready to play at the pro level. But you got to be actually seen. You got to be out there playing. So don't blow it by doing anything off the court that'll mess you up, or not doing the right things off the court, like going to class. Make sure you are protecting yourself. Any person that you're dealing with intimately, make sure you protect yourself. That'll ruin your career really quickly, extremely quickly. Make sure you're not abusing any kind of drugs or alcohol. That'll ruin your career as well. I've seen it happen. So make sure you're just being smart about the act of doing the party. And it's not a matter of balancing it. You're doing what you're going to do, but make sure you're setting your priorities. And you got to know yourself. You got to know what you can do and what you can't do. How much alcohol can you take and still perform on court the next day? How much smoke can you smoke and still perform the next day? How much sleep do you need to be able to perform the next day? You got to know yourself and adjust accordingly. Next is a question from Zen, Xen, from Tucson. Shout out to Tucson. I got some friends out there. And I'm answering questions from my text community. Zen says, what should I be investing my money and time into the most? Well, that's a good question. I've actually answered this question let me see, I've talked about this in a few episodes here of this show. I talked in episode 2298, the best investment is you. All right, the number one thing that everybody listening to this should be investing in, number one, first and foremost, is investing in yourself. That's the number one investment you make is the investment in yourself, which means investing in getting yourself in the right shape. That means you need to be physically in the right shape, spiritually and mentally in the right shape. That means if you need to pay for therapy, pay for therapy. You need to hire a personal coach, hire a personal coach. You need to hire a personal trainer, hire a personal trainer. Whatever you need to pay for to get yourself to just the person you look at when you look in the mirror needs to look your best, feel your best, and be performing at your best. That's what you need to invest in first, is investing in you. That means you need to hire a personal stylist or an image consultant so that you are looking the right way when you present yourself to the world. If you don't know how to dress, if your clothes are not fitting the right way, if you don't know how to put your makeup on, if your hair is looking crazy, if your body is not in the right shape, all of that stuff, you got to get that stuff together, folks. These are not luxuries. All right, number one thing you invest in is you. So number one thing to invest in, Zen, to answer your question, is into you. You need to put time into these things too, because if you hire a therapist or a coach, personal trainer, they're going to demand your time because you got to do things. Then they're going to have you doing stuff outside of the time that you spend with them to make sure that the gains that you get working with them aren't lost in the time that they're not with you. So this number one thing to invest in is to invest in yourself. All right, so that's a great question. That's the number one thing to invest in. Episode 2423, further, I talked about your number one thing for 2023 is multiplication via investment. When you're ready to multiply, then you use your money to invest in other things that can take you to another level. But until you get yourself where you need to be, your body, your mind, your spirit, your presentation, all of those things need to be in the right place. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna do a whole episode just on that point alone, is invest in, I'm just writing this down because I'll write down all my ideas. Body, mind, spirit, and presentation. So y'all can look forward to this episode. It is coming soon when it comes to things that you need to invest in. And then also how to invest in yourself and your growth. I talked about this in episodes 24, 67, 68, and 69. So if you haven't listened to those episodes, Zen, maybe you haven't heard those episodes, go listen to those. I laid out exactly how to invest in yourself and in your growth. Episode 25, 28, when you invest in yourself, do not go cheap. All right, so do not make your investments based on how much they cost. Make your investments based on the value that you get from them. And then episode 25, 39, the best financial investments to make. So all of those are covered in those episodes, Zen. Number 26, we're talking today with me, answering questions from my text message community. If you are not in my text community, text me at my number, which is listed down below in the description so you can get into it. This is from Ja, J-A-H, coming from Queens. Shout out to Queens. Ja said, I got one question. How'd you find my birthday? LOL. All right, so anybody who's in my text community knows that I usually send out birthday texts when it's your birthday. I send you a video, personalized video that wishes you a happy birthday. So he wanted to know how I found out his, I don't know if Ja's a male or female, I'm assuming male, how I found his birthday. Well, we know everything over here at Work On Your Game. That's how I found your birthday. So that's the quickest question. Next, number 27, came from Hayden, who is in Atkins. And I'm answering questions from my text community here. Questions is, how do I keep my drive and motivation to be better? It's a good question. It's a very broad question, but a good question. Hayden, and for everybody else who wants to know, how do you stay motivated and driven to be better? First of all, you got to be clear on what you want to be better at. Where do you want to be better, and why does it matter? What do you want to be better at, and why does it matter? If you have heard this framework before, or maybe you think you heard this framework before, you should, because I actually did talk about this. And let me see if I can find that episode. That was episode number I'm just looking for it now. I got so many episodes here in the show. I gotta look through a lot of them to find what I'm looking for. That was episode number 2043. What and why over how? So the question that Hayden's asking is, how do I keep my drive and motivation to be better? Better question, Hayden, is what do you want to be better at and why does it matter? When you answer those two questions, then or how do you do it becomes a lot easier. How you do it is through the frameworks and processes that I share in Work on Your Game University, through things like the third day, the mirror of motivation, through bulletproof mindset, through the Work on Your Game system. But before you even get to the how do you do it, first we got to be clear on the what and why. So those are the two things you need to answer first before we even get to the how and why the how even matters. So how you keep your drive and motivation will be based on those other two questions. So we need those two answers before we answer this third question. So you're kind of getting ahead of yourself here. And I don't know if you already have those questions answered, but this is the only context I have is the question that you asked. So we got to leave it at that. Next, moving on to Alan from Greer. I don't know where Greer is, but Alan says, I'm answering questions from my text community. Alan says, how do you not care what other people think? This is a good question. How to not care what other people think. Well, first of all, you got to get really clear on what you think, because the stronger your mind is around what you think and your position, then the less it matters what anybody else thinks and their position. Now, if your position about yourself is weak and your ego is weak around what you think about you, then it'll be very easy for someone else to insinuate their thoughts and ideas and beliefs about you into your mind, because there's plenty of space for them to do so because you left that space open. But if you close that space up because it's already filled up with what you think, then there's no space for anybody else to get in there. So the best way to not care what other people think is to get really, really solid and really, really definitive and very, definitive is the best word we'll use. Just very clear on what you think about you. So what other people think about you or what you're doing or whatever else. It's not that you don't ever need to or should never consider it. Maybe there's something of value in there. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But the stronger you are in your own convictions, the less anybody else's convictions are going to sway you or throw you off course or move you to do something that you otherwise wouldn't want to do. So you really want to be clear on what matters the most for you. So it really doesn't matter what other people think. You can care what other people think. I don't think it's necessarily that you need to not care at all, because sometimes what other people think could be useful for you if you listen. Depending on who shared it and what they're talking about, it could be very useful for you depending on what it is and who it came from and what the subject is. So I wouldn't even get to a position that I don't want to care at all, but the final vote is always going to go to you. All right, you always get the final vote as to what's going to happen when it's something that involves you and is going to mostly affect you, or if you're the person making a decision. For example, if you're a parent, what other people think doesn't really matter as much as what you think matters, because you're the parent, you're the one who's in charge. So other people's opinion, you can take it into consideration, but does it matter? Not much, because you're the final decision maker on that. So that's where I land on that. And again, this is a short question, so no other context. I don't need to give any more answers. Next, moving on to Jack, number 29. Questions I'm answering here are from my text message community. If you would like to be in that community, text me at my number, which is listed down below in the description. Next, a question from Jack, who is in Charlotte. Says, how do you deal with anxiety on a daily basis? So it depends on where your anxiety is coming from and what the source of it is. But I talk about eliminating stress and anxiety in episode 1691. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and do it. And then also episode 1109, deleting your anxiety over the uncertainties of life. So, if you haven't listened to episode 1109, make sure you listen to that one as well. It depends on the source of your anxiety and where exactly it's coming from and what you're anxious about. When you're clear on that, if I knew, then I could give you a more detailed answer here, but this is the only thing that you gave me here, Jack, so this is all I can go off of. I would suggest, though, that if anxiety is really slowing you down or hampering your efforts or hampering your thoughts, that you invest in something like coaching or therapy, or one or the other, coaching or therapy, or at least getting into a mastermind group, maybe getting around some like-minded individuals, not like-minded in that they're anxious, but individuals who are serious about growth and getting better, because that connection to other human beings might be the thing that you need to kind of free your mind, give you a place to vent, a place where space is held for you, where you can share. And guess what? Over in Work on Your Game University, we just opened a group coaching program where this could be the perfect place for you. depending on what your anxiety is about. Again, pending that we know what exactly you're anxious about. I don't know what that is because you didn't tell us, but that's what I would suggest as of right now when it comes to what to do with your anxiety, how to deal with anxiety on a daily basis. If you're dealing with it every single day, I would suggest that you meditate, not medicate, but meditate instead of medicating, and then look into some professional help. Next, Kurt from Denver. I'm answering questions from my text community. Kurt says, how do I attract a lot of customers? Well, you got to have a great product. Number one way to attract a lot of customers is having a great product, and then you got to have some strong marketing. So what is your product that you're selling? And then you got to have some good marketing that continually reinforces and reminds your potential customers what it is that you have, why it matters to them, what it's going to do for them, and what they need to do to get it. All right, those are all your job as a marketer if you want to attract a whole lot of customers, because you got to get them to actually buy from you too. So they got to be prospects first and then become customers later. That's all part of your marketing and sales process. And there's a framework inside of Work on Your Game University called the Business Builder Framework, where inside that framework, you are taught exactly the pieces that you need to have in place and the processes you need to have in place in order to have your business running the way that you want it running, Kurt. So what I would suggest is you get into Work on Your Game University at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Get into the Business Builder Framework in addition to the other frameworks we have in there, like Sell Yourself, Content Machine, People Skills. All those things are about attracting the right type of people and converting them to be your customers or clients in your business. Again, all depending on what it is you're selling and how you're helping them and what it is that they get, which I don't know based on your question. Next, number 31 is answering questions from my text community today. Gloria from Mission Viejo says, how do I apply for an LLC? This is a pretty easy one. Gloria, that one is a Googleable answer. So if you just Google, how do I apply for an LLC? You'll see plenty of answers. Let me Google it now. I want to type in exactly what she said. How do I apply for an LLC? So number one result I get besides so you got an ad from top10incorporate.com, how to create an LLC is right there. LegalZoom.com, they'll do your LLC paperwork for you. Then you have U.S. Small Business Administration. They have register your business. You can do it there. You got IRS.gov. They tell you about limited liability corporations, and then there's LegalZoom again. And there are a bunch of videos on YouTube that tell you about how to form your LLC, how to get an EIN, how to form an LLC in California. So there's a lot of different sites that you can do that on. So I will look it up for your specific state. And the EIN is something that you do federally, because that's an employer identification number that becomes a federal ID number that makes your business an entity within itself, where you can use that in different ways. One way is to make your business an entity so someone can't sue your business. I mean, they can't sue you, they can sue the business, which protects your personal assets. So there are benefits to doing all those things. It depends on where you are business-wise, Gloria, whether you actually need to do this or not. I have done episodes on this show where I talked about this. I just talked about this in episode number 2588, where entrepreneurs waste time and why, just a few weeks ago. One of them is doing paperwork, EIN, LLCs, or even filing for this paperwork, even having somebody else file this paperwork because you're paying them to do it. Not every business needs to have these things immediately. You definitely don't need them when you're starting out. Number one thing you need when you're starting a business is customers. So assuming that you already have customers, Gloria, then I would just look at these videos and get the information based on where you are, on what kind of business you want to formulate and why you want to do this. You need to know why you need to do these things, not just doing them because you heard somebody say do it or you see other people doing it. And if you don't have any customers yet, Gloria, if you don't have a consistent stream of customers, consistent stream of revenue coming into your business, I would suggest you don't file for an LLC or an EIN, and instead take that same effort, time, energy, and focus and put it into getting some damn customers, because that's the reason why you're in business, not to have an LLC, but to have customers. Number 32, questions I'm answering from my text community is the series that we're here today. So this maybe probably be the penultimate episode, this one and the next one. I think we'll get all these done, this one and the next one. Dominic from Liberty Hill says, how to find a side hustle / good skills that can be used to develop a side hustle. So Dominic, there are plenty of side hustles that you can do. Let me see, I'm trying to think what I labeled that episode. So first of all, episode 2599, I talked about turning your side hustle into your main hustle. So if you haven't listened to that episode, then I would suggest you do that. And then as far as what side hustles you can start, listen to episodes number 2535, 2536, 2537, and 2538. That is a 4-part series titled Businesses You Can Start Right Now. These are all businesses you can start as a side hustle right now. So I'm going to assume, Dominic, you did not hear those episodes. So now you know how to find a good side hustle. I gave you 5 episodes. That's over 2 hours worth of material where I explain side hustles that you can start and the skills you need to actually do them. So since I've already answered that question directly, we'll move on to the next one. Ron from Indianapolis. I'm answering questions from my text community. Ron says, the biggest lesson or advice on communication you have for someone who needs to make a living in personal training, high value individuals such as entrepreneurs or athletes in big markets. So this is a very specific question. So communication for someone who needs to make a living in personal training. Okay, so Ron wants to make a living in personal training. And he wants to train high-value individuals and high-value clientele, entrepreneurs, athletes in big markets. Okay, so let's work backwards here, Ron. Let's work through your whole question because you pretty much answered your own question. Number one, you need to be in a big market. So I don't know what kind of big market you're talking. Let's say a big market like Miami is a pretty big market for entrepreneurs, athletes. Entrepreneurs and athletes is what he mentioned. So Miami's a big market, New York's a big market, Houston, Atlanta, Las Vegas. These are all big markets. So number one, I'm going to assume, and Ron is in Indianapolis. Is Indianapolis a big market? Maybe, kind of. I think he's maybe looking at a bigger market. He said a big market. You're already in Indianapolis, so I'm assuming maybe you don't see Indianapolis as a big market. So number one is go to a big market. That's the first thing you got to do is get the hell in a big market. If you want to get clients in a big market, you got to be where it's at. You have to be where it's at. So any of you who's never heard me say that, I've talked about it many times. As a matter of fact, episode number 1289, I did a episode titled How to Be Where It's At. In episode 194, go to where it's at. So if you haven't listened to those 2 episodes, go and listen to those episodes. All about being where it's at. You got to be outside, but you got to be outside in the right place. And then there's the law of association. You need to next associate with these people. So you want to train entrepreneurs or athletes. Well, do any of them know you? Do any entrepreneurs or athletes know that you exist? And do they have a reason to listen to you if you were to come around? That's the next thing that you need to address. And then advice on communication for someone who needs that. And Ron, what you need to do if you want to train high value individuals, a high value clientele, I'm assuming by high value, you mean they have a lot of money and you're going to be willing to charge them a lot of money because they're going to be willing to pay for it. Then Ron, that means you need to invest in your business. I mean, let's keep it simple here. All right, have you invested in your business? Have you invested in these skills that you want to have for your business? Because if you haven't invested in these skills of having the communication skill to talk to high value individuals who are going to pay you a high amount of money, then why would they take you seriously? And why would just an average person just listening to your situation, why would they take you serious? You haven't invested in your business, but you want people to invest a bunch of their money into what you're doing. But you haven't invested in you yet. So if you don't invest in you, why would anybody else invest in you? So that's a rhetorical question I'm going to let hang in the air and let you think about. I talked about this in episode 2539, the best financial investments to make. If you haven't made a financial investment on yourself, then nobody else is going to make an investment in you. Episode 2528, never go cheap on investments. Episode 24, 69, 68, and 67, how to invest in yourself and your growth. Episode number 2423, your key for this year, multiplication via investment. Episode 2298, the best investment to make is in yourself. Episode 1482, invest in your investments. Episode 1403, how to reinvest in your business. Episode 1257, invest in your communication skills. So Ron, I pretty much answered every question that you asked here in this one sentence with about 15 different episodes of this show, all completely for free. After you listen to all of those, or if you've listened to them already, or you think you have, what you need to do is open your wallet and actually invest in your own business. Because if you haven't done that, then that explains why you're asking this question. You're asking about communication skills. Skills pay the bills, but in order to have skills, you got to pay the bill to get the skill. All right, so you pay the bill, you get the skill, and then your skill pays the next bill. But you got to pay a bill, first of all, to get skills in the first place. Because if the skills you have right now are not doing that job, then that means there's a gap between where you are and where you need to be, and you fill that gap by using your money to invest in ability. All that said, we'll wrap it on that, and then we'll do the last part on the next episode. And first of all, let me recap these questions that we just answered. The first one today was Daniel from Philadelphia. How to balance partying and working on your craft in college as an athlete. Zen said, what should I be investing in my money and time into the most? Ja asked, I got one question. How do I find his birthday? LOL. Hayden says, how do I keep my drive and motivation to be better? Alan asks, how do you not care what other people think? Jack asks, how do you deal with anxiety on a daily basis? Kurt says, how do I attract a lot of customers? Gloria asks, how do I apply for LLC? Dominic asks, how do I find a side hustle, good skills that can be used to develop a side hustle? And Ron says, how do I develop communication skills? If I want to have high value clients like entrepreneurs or athletes in a personal training space. So tomorrow we will wrap this up by answering the final 7 or 8 questions from my text message community, at least those of you who responded to this. If you would like to get my daily motivation text every day, text me at my number 305-384-6894 every day. You'll be getting that motivation message. Also, you can text me and let me know the best answer, the best insight, best idea you got from the answers you heard me giving here today at that number. And secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. This is where you get coached by me. All of these questions that are being asked of me, you can get answers and processes and strategies for how to actually apply this stuff to your life by being a member of Work on Your Game University. All of you who say you're serious about doing business, okay? If you say you're serious about doing business, you got to prove that you're serious about doing business. You're already listening to my show. You're already getting my text messages. So why are you not in my coaching program? All right, explain to me why you're not in my coaching program. You're already getting my text. And you already listening to my show. Join the university. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Schedule a call with me or somebody on my team. Let's get on a call and let's talk about what we can do, how we can help you get into the program and start investing in your business so you can start getting some real results and be a serious entrepreneur, not just a wantrepreneur or a think about it-preneur, which is what a lot of y'all are doing out here, if we're being honest. But all that said, I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com, by the way. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.